Hello and welcome to day 4 of the Rise of the Rebel Matriarch Leadership Summit. And today we have a beautiful workshop from one of our Rebel Ma Healing in the Time of the Feminine Women's Story of Liberation co-authors, Shelagh Morrissey. And this workshop today is all around the fact that money is energy and our relationship with it is deeply intertwined with our beliefs, our stories, and our self-worth. So we're going to join Shelagh Morrissey today, who's a seasoned divorce coach, and she's going to share a transformative workshop that challenges scarcity thinking and redefines financial flow. Shelagh will lead us through practices to release old money stories, reprogram limiting beliefs, and cultivate an abundant mindset. We will learn how to embrace our worthiness to receive even in times of uncertainty and step into a more empowered relationship with money. So together, let's rewrite our money stories so that wealth flows with ease and supporting not only our lives, but also the lives of those that we care for. It's about time that we start believing in our inherent worth and embracing the abundance that is our birthright. So thank you, Shelagh, for this incredible work that you do. That I know that, you are so passionate about helping women, especially who are navigating divorce, to transform their lives and their finances. And you help them deal with issues like the lack of financial literacy, negative self-talk, that you are no good with money, and really help them discover their self-worth and develop a really positive relationship with money. And you do that through your one-on-one coaching and workshops, and to help women prepare for divorce and gain financial clarity so they're empowered to negotiate for their best futures, which I know so many women are out there and they have no idea how to navigate this system, and they're going through already such a huge heartbreaking transition. So to be able to step up and lean in and hold space for their healing is just incredible work, and I really want to honor you for that, and for using your life story and everything that led you to overcome and become the woman you are today, to share that now in service to others is really, really beautiful. So thank you, Shelagh.
Thank you, Saoirse. And look, first of all, I want to welcome you all here today. I want to say how grateful I am that I have this opportunity to share my learnings with you. If any of you have turned up, debt, money, divorce, they're all issues that are quite stressful. And, so in this space, if you have switched on to this particular talk, I want to honor you because I know you might be in a very painful place currently. And to do that, I just want you to connect with the space you're in currently. We'll just do a little small sort of calibrate for ourselves to calm down in this space, because I'm sure issues will come up for you. So just let's close our eyes and just connect to our bodies and connect to your space. And just feel what's happening in your body, because this is where your power is, whatever we're doing in our life. And it's leaning into that feeling and not resisting it. And just take a inhale and just feel the power of our breath. Because when we breathe, we take back the power. And that's so important when we're in the space of divorce, debt, or any money troubles in our lives. And sometimes we just get caught up in the drama of it all, and it's learning to practice slowing down and leaning in to the discomfort that we're going through, where you'll make the breakthrough. So take another deep inhale. And an exhale. And I just want to ask you and invite you to ask yourself, why did you show up today? What was so important that you gave your time up to listen into this talk? And just to be compassionate to yourself during this talk. So at that, just wriggle your fingers, wriggle your toes, and just if your eyes are closed, just invite you to open them slowly and just orientate yourself. Orientate yourself in the room and the space that you're in. Just to be with me and be present at this moment. So, if you want to take a break during any of this, obviously the whole thing that I teach is that we have to be comfortable with the discomfort. So nobody's forcing us to do anything. And as I say, money and debt and divorce are very stressful things that happen in our lives. And I am somebody who has been involved in all of them. And I have experienced that stress and anxiety myself. And so I want to share that with you today. So 10 years ago, well, first of all, I'm a chartered accountant, but I had given up my job and I had to recalibrate and retrain to go back to work because my own marriage broke down. But besides that, I had to, as a woman, decide what business I was going to get into. And debt was very prevalent. I helped a lot of people in debt from 2008 onwards after the financial collapse. And so I saw at firsthand what money distress did to families, to relationships, to people's health and their time and their status. And all of these issues are, cause shame, they cause blame, and there was nowhere to go. And very quickly, I soon found out that a spreadsheet was not the solution. People needed more than that. They needed to look at what had got them to this point in life. And I didn't have the skill set, even though I could produce the figures. And that's what made me go do deeper work. I wanted to have a more in-depth conversation with people when they sat opposite me. And that's when I saw the parallels between divorce and debt. There were so many parallels, the exact same emotions, fear, uncertainty, loss, regret. And all of those emotions were showing up for me as I sat at one side of the desk exploring what was going on in my life, but listening to people at the other side of my desk who were exploring a lot of pain because of financial stress. And, people lost time with their families. They hid the debt from their spouses and tried to carry on themselves. And, it's these disruptors, I call them, these disruptors that we have with money. A lot of people call them disorders, but I don't like that word because we can have these disruptors because of during childhood, what did we experience with money? What was your first experience with money? Did something happen? Like, I've seen people's houses being under threat, the family home, and that creates a lot of stress relating to money. Did you lose a lot of money on investments? Did you have to be bailed out by somebody? And so obviously there are going to be triggers when you have any more decisions to make around debt. But the three I really saw mostly were around money, were avoidance, where we avoid talking about money. We avoid dealing with our issues, particularly when it's like divorce or debt, because the letters come, we don't want to open them, and we don't have anyone to share it with. And then we also have worshipping money, where we have the person who really, is working like a workaholic. They want to make more money, but they get no joy out of the money. And that was in the space as an accountant where I saw a lot of entrepreneurs in that space. They hadn't got that work-life balance. And then we had relationship debt, where we are codependent on other people. We are givers. We don't know how to receive. There's no reciprocity, and or we become the provider, and that's another issue within relationships. And how can we negotiate, or how can we talk about money in a logical way if all of this is going on in the background? So, a lot of people said to me, Sheila, you're sitting at one side of the desk and you're speaking to me, but all I see is your lips moving because there's nothing going in. because again, there's this myth, and particularly with women, I don't know how to save, I don't know anything about money. I've given over all the financial kind of control in the home to one particular person. And that can be a woman or a man. I'm not being anyway sexist here, but in my experience, it was a lot of times that the women did not know what was going on. And, then they enter into, it's still, they have the responsibility then for the children when the family home is under threat. They may have signed documents they weren't aware of. So all of that is so difficult to navigate if people are emotionally not in the space to make decent decisions. And the whole idea now is that we go back to our experiences with money. We go back to them, just like we look at any triggers we have in life that we've all had to work on in different spaces. But money is one of those spaces that we shy away from. And we just accept the way it is. I'm just a person who spends money, or I hoard, I overspend. But it's like an addiction. Like Gabor Maté says, trauma isn't what happened to us, it's what happened in us. And when we associate that with money, it becomes so powerful. And investing that time in yourself to do that sort of work. So when people came to me, they were looking for a solution, but I could see that they needed a transformation. So the solution for me, I could produce the spreadsheet, but I soon saw that that wasn't bringing the transformation for people. It was bringing a solution that was bringing them back into to a little bit better survival, and a little bit more of a release. But the trauma or the behavior or the story, the script associated with money wasn't changing. So even if I got a very good arrangement for people who were in debt, often they defaulted within 6 months because they went back to the old habits, and they didn't see that this solution was there, was because they were still stuck in the story about the debt. And often that was a story that, they got immersed in the story regarding either somebody did something wrong that created them to be in debt, or the bank were wrong, somebody was wrong. And so, but we have to then, and it's not about blaming anyone here, because we're all, look, money is a transactional thing that we all need, but I haven't seen the joy that people should be getting from the money they're earning. So we're all working every day, we're making money, and yet the joy that should be associated with that money. So we're in a situation where we're in a capitalist society. We have a system that's worked that, and we have to fit into that system. And that system can have brought different experiences to different people, depending on your economic situation, where you grew up. And so we have to be really compassionate to each other in this area and really listen to why we're making the decisions we're making. So therefore, as I said, I look at, there's particular surveys that we can look at to see what your relationship with money is. We can do workshops to bring you back into that area of your life where you had trauma, and you can start to look at that. But until you can do that, then how can a woman or a man come into me looking for divorce? And money is one of the big issues in divorce. How is this being split? But how can they do that if they've no value on themselves? Often they've no value on themselves. And that's why even when I dealt with the debt, a lot of people said, if only I'd collected the money I was owed, Shelagh, I wouldn't be in this situation. And that's back to your own self-worth. But where is that coming from? And it's the same in divorce. You're not going to negotiate your best life if you don't have that self-worth. And it's a lot of that is down to stepping into your power and stepping into knowing what your own relationship with money is. And it's not this, well, he should give it to me. Sometimes it's, I need to get a job. Sometimes it's taking ownership of moving you from A to B so that you release that dependency. But if you've always been dependent on somebody, you mightn't think that's possible. And it's the same with people who are in debt. It's releasing the dependency on the financial institution and saying, I can get a job, I can start to own this, and it's never too late to take those steps. So, Saoirse, if you would like to look at anything I've said there and see if you'd like me to expand on any of that. Sorry, you're on mute.
Yes, I do find that very interesting. Again, it's like taking radical responsibility for your life, isn't it? Really taking ownership for what situation you might find yourself in, and getting creative about getting out of these tricky situations. But a lot of the women who I say maybe are navigating divorce, are moving through portals where they have been dependent on another, where they have not given up their career, but maybe just like, they've been in a position where they didn't need to work for a certain amount of time, but now when they're divorcing that person, they've got to move back into the workforce. They've got to work on their self-worth. They've got to know what they're worthy of, in terms of, all of the time they've invested into their family when the other person was building wealth, and also in their own sense of self. So I'd love to know what you do with those women. And what would what are the steps they could take to, I guess, cultivating a sense of self-worth within, and trusting and knowing that, there are opportunities for them to be to receive the abundance that they deserve.
Yes, but so what I find is that people don't know what they want. And that's all to do with the trauma associated. Like, you're going through a lot of stuff here. But my biggest thing that I want to work with people on is, it's not even going through divorce. Again, it's not the divorce and the solution. It's working on a transformation for yourself. So it's going inward, Saoirse, and doing that work to use your divorce as a way of breaking free from old habits. And so it's like you're divorcing that version of yourself that was in that relationship, because that wasn't serving you. So this is deep. Like I said, I was craving always to have a deeper conversation with people. So rather than thinking about the end result of the divorce, it's like there has to be this part of the process where we do a little bit more work with the person. So people think they know what they want, but it's like, I see what they need.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard. It's sometimes, if I was to say to people, come to me for the transformation, they may not want to do that, because they just say, I want a divorce, I want to get half of this and half of this, and then I'll be happy. But that's not what way it works. When I see the end, when I've seen how that manifests, because we've all heard this listener saying, oh, well, then nobody be happy at the end of it. Well, you didn't leave a marriage not to be happy at the end of it. Otherwise, you'd have stayed in it. So anyone who decides to go on this journey, they have a dream. They want more. But you're not going to get more unless you do this deeper work. And that deeper work is around money. It's about your relationship with money. We can look at and that impacts our relationships, because I'm sure people have heard their parents arguing about money. They've heard, like, money can create such a big issue in a relationship. This is your chance to now start with a clean slate. So, like, I am now embarking on a course called The Trauma of Money, which has fantastic sort of modules to help us deal with all of these areas. And this half an hour isn't going to cover that. And so I'm excited that I'll be able to deliver that. So I'm going to be delivering that in January, and I'm working towards that at the moment, launching a digital course. And like, I've seen a lot of conflict, and a lot of help out there is very adversarial during this period. And it's not about that. When I went through the divorce myself, I wanted it to be, I'm not saying it's going to be amicable with the other person, but what you wanted it to be is amicable with yourself. We'd look too much for it to be amicable for the other part. We want to still, our marriage, wouldn't have broken down if it was all amicable. So we have to be very clear about that. But what we do want is that the divorce brings you back home to yourself, because that's why you're leaving it. But the money is a big issue here, because we can't do that if we leave a marriage and don't negotiate properly for ourselves, because then we're not standing into our own power and we're being just the same as we were, but we're just doing it in another version of ourselves. And then we still carry the same resentments, we still carry the same problems. And it's also saying somebody else isn't going to negotiate for you, because we have this myth that we go to a solicitor and that they'll negotiate for us. But if I was to count the amount of times I was told, oh, you're lucky, and I was an accountant and had worked in debt, and I still dreaded this part of it because of the system, not because I wasn't capable. I don't like using the word fight, but I had to speak up. So speaking up is so important. But you can only speak up when you can stand into your own self-worth, your own relationship with money, and be able to articulate that in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're greedy, doesn't make you feel that you're taking him to the cleaners or cleaning him out, or he's cleaning you out. Like this
gold digger or a money grabber or whatever that
yes, yes. But it's saying to people when they enter divorce, take away the old style of entering a divorce, take away that old style of fear. There's going to be uncertainty, but you have started this process. You wanted this process. So now it's up to you to navigate it as best you can, and not be saying, well, why have I done this now? Because now the solicitor's telling me to that. I don't know how to do it. So that's where I step in, because I felt I needed a buddy who had my back, could take away the jargon. Now, I was capable of doing that. I had stood in court and given evidence for other people as an expert witness during divorces. So I was familiar with the courtroom. And so I wasn't fearful of it. But nobody rehearsed me for that. But I would like to rehearse other people for it. The courtroom isn't a place for, the courtroom is a place for law, not justice. So if you're going in there looking for justice to tell your story and get sympathy, that's not going to happen. So it's avoiding those areas and being mindful of what you want to achieve. But that will only happen when you stand into who you really are and what you really want from this new phase of your life.
Yeah, and I love that about the work that you do. It's so beautiful, and it's so, so important, because as you say, like, there's a saying, no matter where you go, there you are. So even if you do have a divorce and there has been really tough times and it isn't for you anymore, there's still some level of responsibility you need to take for how you've been showing up in that relationship, and how it has played out, and what you allowed or what you didn't allow, and all of these things. And yes, absolutely, like you've got a whole new life ahead of you, and you're going to have a new relationship to your authority, to your finances, to your power. So to have someone like you hold your hand and be a stand for you and help you to delve a little bit deeper, to just really shine a mirror, to be able to take ownership of who you are, and to be able to rewrite the stories that maybe have been not serving you, and move forward with a clean slate and fucking a whole new, like, canvas to paint your picture on, with a lot more color than you have come from.
And the reason we don't do that, seriously, is because when people are in a debt situation or a divorce situation, they feel very isolated. They feel they're going against the norm, but they're actually not, because there's lots of people in debt and lots of people in divorce. And that's what I'm also trying to do, is normalize this. So when we're going through it, we close up, we fear, and we think no one else is going through it. But my dream, my plan would be, I'd love to have a workshop where people are sitting in a room together sharing this, because I think the power of a workshop is amazing. I give workshops currently for people who are retiring, and I just see the power in that room of people sharing their information. And, to grow that into people in debt, particularly, but also people in divorce. Like I know we have online forums, but there's nothing like showing up in a room where you can actually look in people's eyes and see what they're going through, but also that normalizes. So even a simple exercise is taking a sheet of paper and having a circle, and just within that circle, when whether it's divorce or whatever you're going through in life, even if it's a new business, but I'm just concentrating on divorce because it's relationships that I've really seen the impact that money has on. And it's like inside that circle, write what you dream of. And this is like vision boards, but this is where we go inside and say, what do I want in that circle? Now you've come from a relationship, so outside the circle, you write what you don't want. And that is giving yourself clarity. Do you know what I mean? What do I want to exclude? What do I now not want? But that isn't about what you want to exclude from another person. It's what you want to exclude about your behavior with money, your own behavior. You know what I mean? Sometimes we look at what we don't like about what somebody else did with money, but look at what we do with money ourselves and what we want from it. And, even as women, there is that whole myth of financial literacy. There is that whole thing of, I was no good at maths at school, I left him do everything. And that's rewriting the story again, So you put that inside the box. I want to have financial literacy. I'm making my intention that I'm going to do this. And you find the person who's going to help you do that, which I will do during divorce, to let you stand in your power. I have met so many women and men, predominantly women, because I'm a woman myself. So it's not that I'm not reaching out. In debt, I felt I met more men because they were the ones that walked in the door to me. And I also saw that masculine energy of where they were trying to protect, but you don't protect through lies and deceit. You protect through honesty and integrity and openness in relationships. So again, it's like we have to put in the work. Do you know what I mean? That's the issue here. We have to put in the work. Nobody's coming to save us. We can have people to support us. But I really want to go back to that bit about having the body, having the somebody. And like we go to solicitors and, let's face it, it's expensive. And it's a lot of paper pushing, and it's overwhelming. And at what time do you go to a solicitor? And I'm saying to people, take a step back. Don't rush into this. Get somebody like myself, a divorce coach, a divorce planner, who has the financial background to assist you and guide you, so that when you go to the legal side of it, be it mediation, you may decide it's mediation rather than legal. I'm not supporting either system. That's something that we would explore during this journey of my course anyway. But what I'm saying is, we get prepared. Preparation is your secret weapon in divorce. Preparation. I have met women who said, oh, well, it's not going to be coming up for 3 months, or I might be a bit premature. And I'm like, preparation in divorce is so important. Because once you get to a certain stage of it, everybody wants everything now. And that's what causes the stress. Preparation for people in debt was really important. I could have somebody who walked into my office, it could have taken 3 years before we were ready to take that proposal somewhere, because they weren't prepared emotionally, physically, and financially. But once we gave them the options of what they could do, they were able to go out the door and take some power back. But going back to, that whole, it's rewriting the story around these big events in our lives. It's like earthquakes. These are life quakes. And it's like taking back the power around those life quakes to create a better life for ourselves. How many people have gone through divorce and come out of it and felt worse? You didn't do it for that reason. It's the transformation that I am so keen about. The transformation is where you get the sweet spot. When I got people who came back to me after being in debt and said, you didn't just change our money, Sheila, you changed our lives. That's what I like. It's not our bank balance you change their lives because they developed that better conversation around the kitchen. It's another one of my sayings. If it's okay around the kitchen table, then it's okay, because it's the conversations we have around the kitchen table that that make us, because that's where our honesty has to start from.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And that's it. It's just, reprogramming ourselves, up leveling, what's it, reprogramming or upgrading our software, and to have someone like you to be there to know and navigate a system without, big stuffy lawyers who are just in it for the big bucks and who just want you to settle for whatever it is because you're lucky, to have someone who's actually looking at all the different threads and all the different pieces of your psyche and your life and helping you to become a better woman in the process of all your navigating. It's priceless, it really is. And it's what women need, because it is a lonely time, and they are probably navigating a lot. They probably put up with a lot for a long time, and their self-worth and their confidence and would be low. So having a sister there who can just support you and fill you up and be your biggest cheerleader and let what you're capable of and see your potential and just celebrate and show you what's possible is just like what women in these situations really, really need. So honoring you for sure for the work that you do. Is
Well,
there any
yes, the other thing, so as well as that page with the circles, it's also just inviting yourself, even seriously at this moment, to remember your first interaction with money as a child. I
Mhm,
found that a powerful exercise when I did it myself, because that's sometimes a template as to even how we show up as adults without us even realizing it until we explore it. And when we're in business, when we're negotiating, that initial interaction with money can be a powerful experience that we bring through our life and don't realize how important it was. It can be the reason that we are all those things I said. It can be the reason that we avoid money. It can be the reason that we have this worshipping of money. It can be the reason that we have this problem within our relationship with money, with other people. So
mhm,
that's really a powerful act to do, to actually really be honest with yourself and go back to that moment in time. And then remembering the people in your life that you saw abundant. And and I found that I struggled to find that, really find people who are abundant and have the flow. Because when you release all of those things, then a flow appears because you lose the fear.
mm,
Because what we fear often, when we fear something, that's when we actually lose it, because we don't trust in the whole universe and we're trying to control. So
mhm,
using those, they're just simple ones. Now there's also, I don't know if there's also a it's a site called it's KLONTZ, Clontz Money. And they are also money psychologists, or they help people in this space, but they have a Clontz money disorder. Now they call it a disorder assessment, because that's the old way. I call it disruptor. So I would invite people, if they want to go on to that, we might put the link up. I'll send it to you, Saoirse, and it's a lovely sort of starting point to actually go through a lot of questions and see. You get an email sent to you to tell you where your strengths and where you're now. It's not to take it too seriously, but be honest with the answers, because it's more the questions and the answers you give that you'll get the feeling in your body when you're answering. And
mhm.
so rather than looking again at the report that comes and looking, what am I, feel your body when you're answering the questions. That's going to give you more of a signal of what are you.
Yeah, yeah, that's brilliant. And it is so true, like those little practices where you're writing what you want, or writing what you don't want, because many people don't actually know what they want. There's a process to get to the point where you know what you want, and you're worthy of it. So writing what you don't want, how you don't want to feel, who you don't want to be, what you don't want to experience, will give you a bit of a blueprint of what you do. And then, yeah, looking at the stories around money, like, I grew up with money doesn't grow on trees, or the money is the root of all evil. And I always, was kind of judgmental of people who had money in school, and like the rich kids, because you kind of have an association of money with power and greed, and not a very nice. So like, there's so many stories that we have grown up with around society. And I come from a family that my mom and dad, were middle class. They worked hard for their money, but I saw my mom as an independent woman when my dad left, and a single mama, working her arse off to provide for us. And she did work that lit her up, and she was brilliant at it, and she was a trailblazer. But when I moved into entrepreneurship, then later on in my life, there was a story that I had around, I was afraid of my own power. I was afraid of, really going all in, at what cost it was going to be to my family, my young family, my kids, and there was this kind of addiction or attachment to, it had to be hard, it had to be a struggle. And I had to do a lot of work on that. And through working in feminine leadership ways, in feminine embodiment ways, to slow down and be more in receivership, to be able to allow pleasure and ease into your everyday, and to be able to be not in that scarcity mentality, holding on so tightly, like I have to work and I have to provide, because that was causing a huge conflict in my relationship with my husband, because he's the provider and I wanted to be the provider and the independent woman too. But I couldn't do it all and then also be primary carer for my kids at the same time. And it was me, it was my shit that I was holding on so tightly to, needing to still be in control, to needing to still be providing for my family, even in that season of my life when I had the privilege of slowing down and surrendering and receiving. And I couldn't, because of the programming within me, and because of my scarcity thinking that I needed to be making money and I needed to be the independent woman, So that's
Of
just.
course, yes. But you see, Saoirse, you use a great word there, scarcity, because our
Mhm.
whole economic system is based on scarcity, and so that's why then we want, we think it's all going to run out, it's all going to run out. And, as you say, you have phases in your life and you have to make choices.
Mhm.
And often, now look at that brings its own debate about women when they do choose to step back. And, I say that, we spend our 20s educating ourselves, we spend our 30s then being in motherhood where we have to withdraw, and then we have to try and re-enter so when, at what stage, that's a different debate, but it's still centered on money. Because, I call it now, we need the post-nup, not the pre-nup, because when women make those decisions, there should be a round table discussion about, where is this going to lead me when I'm 50? Because I had to navigate
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
I had to
that's not
navigate that.
fair, because we're at such a
So,
disadvantage, and
yeah,
we give our bodies over to these babies. We have built our careers, and then we have to, nurture our kids, be primary carers. We lose out on so much superannuation, like there's a huge conversation there, but
yeah.
100% everybody
But
should.
that happens during divorce. I mean, that's, this is one of the things, how are women compensated during divorce for that period?
Mhm.
And so it's very important for you to own that period and be able to be confident as to why you're entitled to some things, because women often step away from that and say, oh sure, I'm not. And there's, because this is where is that coming from in you? Is it the avoidance? Is it the, the three things I spoke about? Is it the avoidance? Is it the worship? Is it the is it your interrelationship? So, even though it's another huge bigger debate, it is really pertinent during divorce. And it's also pertinent when I was dealing with death, because again, women step back from that. And so I would invite people to, really, young, this is something that's like when we're here seriously talking about maiden, mother, wild woman, wise woman, matriarch, at every stage of those phases in your life, as a woman and in relationships, money is important,
Mhm.
and we shouldn't drift. We should take back the conversation to the table to make sure that we're protected, because in our economic system, we need money, and it's not being greedy, but it's being, and it's not, I don't even mean the word entitled, it's just distributing of it fairly.
Yeah, for sure. And even me, I'm in a loving relationship, and
Mhm.
there's still, I feel like it's unequal sometimes. And he can make more money than me, because he has more capacity and more freedom
Absolutely.
to. But yet, sometimes I feel like my spending is questioned, or I need permission, and I fucking hate that. So I've had a lot of work to do in my own relationship, but I won't bring that into your workshop today. But it's still like, we do need to, um, I don't believe that women should just give up everything when they enter into
No.
partnership, because it does put us in a very vulnerable position. Now,
And that's a
obviously,
big debate, Celia. That's a big debate that even this, I hope to open up as I grow, into all of this money talks.
Mhm.
It's a big debate that I really want to open up about women in all these phases, because I had to navigate it myself.
Mm.
And only for I was for, only for I had done the work, I was professional, because I had the qualifications, and I still found it difficult. And it was that calling. I remember in my office one day getting emails and dreading it and thinking, what do other people do here? If I'm
Mm.
struggling, what
Mhm.
do other people do here? And I felt a calling that this is a space I need to go into, where I can assist people to navigate this area in a compassionate way. But I don't mean holding their hand and without them doing the work. You have to do the work, and you've got to come into my space if you want that transformation. Come into
Mhm.
my space if you really want to have a better life at the other side.
Yeah, for sure. And that's it. Even in relationship, it's the activation is the invitation. And we can't just be the victim and like blame everybody else. We've got to take ownership. We've got to look inward. We've got to make choices. We've got to be clear on our values and what we are willing to allow and what we are not willing to allow, and what we are, and just cultivate that sense of worthiness to know that,
Yes.
we get to be provided for, exactly, and protected, and fight for what we need without having to pick up our sword and fight the whole world. We've also got to know what we're worthy of. So I love that. Have you got any last little tips or tricks to share, or an embodiment practice and anybody could do to move forward and continuously cultivate that sense of self-worth, or questioning of who they are?
Well, the only, I suppose, what I'm saying to people really is that when you're going through any of these life quakes, just don't go down the normal route,
Hmm.
where you think, oh, I have to go and see, just realize there are other ways of doing this. And it isn't an overnight fix. So the work if you are in this space of healing any trauma in your life, the money aspect is another layer on top of it. So what I do is really bringing it all together for you, not to separate all those issues. So whether it's a meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's deep, cold water immersion, whether it's the walk in the morning, it's bringing those new habits into your life to calm the nervous system down, to go from fight and flight, from this parasympathetic to the sympathetic. It's all that work on mindset. So but that is not normally associated with,
Mm.
doing the spreadsheet or doing the solution for finance. But it was
Absolutely.
that gap that I saw, it was so glaring looking back at me every time I met people. And in the space I was in, we had a process to follow, like solicitors do, and they don't have the time to dwell on this. But also people knowing that they have somebody who is also looking at this from the professional point of view. And I feel that's where I have my niche, that I can bring the compassionate and the professional together.
I love that. So On that note, where can people find you? How can people work with you, Sheila?
So I have so my company is called Firm Advice, FIRM, firmadvice.ie. I'm based in Ireland, and I am, as I say, on Instagram at Firm Advice is on the Instagram. It's I'm in the throes. You'll notice Saoirse called me Sheila Marshall, and then she called me Sheila Morrissey.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah.
don't worry, Saoirse, it's fine. I'm in transition. So it's I'm Sheila Morrissey from now, and the business will be launched under Sheila Morrissey. And again, this is me taking ownership of who I am. And that's just another little thing, another little sweetness when you get to this stage of the process.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And it is not a little thing, it's a big thing, isn't it, really? Taking
mm,
back your name. I love that.
yes. So and I'm also on LinkedIn as Sheila Morrissey and but firmadvice.ie. And I'm in the next 10 weeks, just please watch this space because in January I'm launching a program for transforming divorce and money talks about that. So I'll be doing a lot of work on social media on that and delivering all this lovely new, hopefully, thinking around money and debt and divorce.
Beautiful. Amazing. Awesome. Can't wait for any woman out there who needs your support. You are an absolute angel. And yeah, I know that you are going to be able to support so many people with your wisdom, with your love, with your nurturing essence. And yeah, thank you for the work that you
Thank you, Saoirse.
do.
Take care.
Take care.